Yo.
Good afternoon. What's
AFAB family, what's good?
what's happening, fam?
You feeling good?
Ah, man, I'm always feeling good. Feel real good today. Feeling great. Like Tony
Feeling
the
real
Tiger,
good.
baby.
Yeah, man.
Great.
My man. Okay.
Super great.
Um, Appreciate y'all tuning in. Anything for a bit sportscast. I'm Tyler Watts. This is Eli Pena.
What up, what up?
We are talking free agency updates today. I mean, we've been talking free agency all week, but let's talk, today about, some of the things that have gone down. Do we agree? Do we disagree? What would we do if we were GM? Because, that's always a good discussion. And
I love playing GM.
yeah, man. Uh, and also the draft outlook. Some of these moves, are they telling us anything about the early round draft picks? Are they telling us anything about, the construction of the team or what the plan is, since it kind of felt aimless at the beginning or a little
Mm.
disorganized?
What plan?
So what?
What
There's
plan?
always a plan.
What plan?
We're doing our due diligence. Hey.
Okay. At the end of the day. At the end of the
um,
day.
But yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it because there is quite a bit of free agency news.
Get into it. Yeah.
I think the biggest one, that people have been talking about, Coop was already talked about on our last show. But Randy
Mm-hmm.
Gregory is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. He is officially signed with the Denver Broncos, joining Russell Wilson. They're
Mm-hmm.
really loading up that AFC West, man. The quarterback and pass rusher combinations on each
Yeah,
team
man.
is
I said it. I said
ridiculous.
it on Twitter the other night. That I feel like those connected franchise leagues that we used to play in Madden back in the day. We'd all get in
Man.
one division together and just be like, yeah, let's just bring every good player to this division. You know,
Have an all-star game every every
salary cap be damned.
yeah. We don't worry about that.
Wish the Cowboys
Um,
did.
yeah, well,
Did not worry
we'll
about
get to talk about that because you talk about some narrative,
it.
you know. There's definitely some narrative being pushed that oh, I don't know how we're gonna fit these players under the salary cap, and you see all these teams just
Yeah, the
making it
Saints are
work.
like top 10 in available cap space now in the league.
How's that even possible? Well, it is possible,
Yeah, you just manipulate things.
So
Just
you know,
turn a couple
but
dials here and there.
look, man, that's you would need experienced people to do that. I don't know how we would get that. Anyways, we'll get there. So Randy's gone. Definitely a lot of noise on the way out because of how that deal crumbled. And I think it was just a terrible look for the Cowboys because you already traded away, number one wide receiver for, felt like a can of peanuts. And uh
Some Scooby snacks.
now even looking at it like, did we even have to, did we even have to make that move? That was, it seemed self-imposed.
Yeah, I just think they were going to do it regardless, right? I don't think the
Exactly.
Cowboys were ever concerned about what the league was going to do at the wide receiver position or how the league was going to view what they were going to do with Amari Cooper. That decision was predetermined. It was going to happen. The fact that they got a 5th round pick was better than what they were going to do. Whatever.
Yeah, because they were going to go.
Yeah.
But Randy sounds like, we came together. That was a big priority in free agency. That was even said during the season last year.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure we bring this guy back. The trio of him, Lawrence, and Parsons, in the brief time they all got to play together, were absolutely dominant. And that was at least going to be going into this season like, hey, we are going to have the cornerstones of some championship
Mm-hmm.
defense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's gone. And allegedly under the, you know, bad faith negotiations of the front office. Allegedly, right?
I don't know.
Allegedly.
I don't know if it was bad faith. Look, I think that we all want to put a negative spin on this, and we want to blame Steven and Jerry, right?
Right
This is
because
how
we're
the
already
Cowboys this
displeased.
is how the Cowboys negotiate. This is language is included in a lot of their contracts, right? Not all of them because it's not in the Dak Prescott contract. And ultimately, a team can do what they want, right? If they want to put that language in there, great. And if a player doesn't like that, great. They can go to a team that doesn't, just like Randy Gregory did. You know, my bigger issue is what's plan B?
Yeah.
Right? Like the Cowboys were so sure that they were going to get this deal done that it just seems like it took them back so much to a point that we're all sitting here going, okay, so Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler are now going to rotate right defensive end, and Micah's going to be in the mix. And like, that's just the plan to replace Randy Gregory,
You
right?
sound
Like,
really sure about that.
that's where I take issue, right? It's not even that we lost the player. I wanted Randy Gregory back, but the front office, you got to have a plan B, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe they didn't like the money that Von Miller got, but they didn't even make him an offer, according
No.
to reports, right? There was not even any communication there. After Miller talked about wanting to go, right? Like he, sent the eyeballs just like Micah Parsons did. Everybody watching Twitter see that communication going back and forth.
Yep.
Reports that Dak Prescott was talking to Von Miller, trying to, recruit him, and your front office never even picks up the phone.
Didn't even say anything.
A guy like Zadarius Smith is still out there. I don't know that that's, comparable to a Randy Gregory, but, throw him in that rotation. I feel a little bit better.
Right.
Daniil Hunter was a guy that Minnesota talked about trading. Don't think it's going to happen, but,
Mm-hmm.
why not make the call and see if you can get him for a third round pick? Because you're not going to get an edge rusher that's better than Daniil Hunter for a third or a fourth round pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my issue. What's plan B? I don't have the answer to that, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. Again, eh, there's probably not as much drama to the leaving as it was, reported. If I'm being honest with myself, if I really think about it,
It's
there's
business.
right. It is business, and again, there was a team that you know, however those terms got presented to him, there was a team that was willing to undo it, right?
Right. For the same amount of money.
And I think at that point, if you want to say that's how they, negotiate, you left yourself no room, allegedly, at the end to come in and say, okay, listen, we'll match it, whatever
Yeah.
the case is. It
Right.
sounds like, they reported they didn't have a chance to match that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to take some kind of blame as the organization to letting the negotiation get to that point.
Sure.
Um, but going forward, like you said, you gotta have that plan B, and that's kind of you know, uh, you saw a flurry of signings. I don't want to say in response to that, but there was money free now, so there was a couple of people that got done right. Dorrance Armstrong got re-signed, which you had
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, right, which is good, right, as a rotational piece, but still need someone to fill that that hole there. And on that note, you know, there's a lot of people. Of course, Twitter's very toxic, and there's a lot of people coming out
Not
saying,
Twitter.
yeah, a lot of people coming out being like, oh, that's okay. We didn't want to, pay for your 6 sacks or, this, that, and the other. It's
Whatever,
like,
bro.
that's just to
Whatever.
me, that's just a shallow take, man. If you watched the games, the kind of impact that Randy Gregory had, whether
Mm-hmm.
getting to the quarterback or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And some of that stuff doesn't show up in a stat sheet, um, per se. So, the idea that, somehow we were, you know, doing him a favor, or it's okay, we won't miss him that bad. It's like, okay, maybe we can get someone over there, right, with who's left,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
can have a similar impact. But Randy by far is one of the twitchiest, fastest, guys, off the edge,
And
right?
a guy
Like
that
that.
could just really be coming into his prime too, right? Like
Exactly.
the ceiling is definitely, and that's the thing, right? I've seen a lot of that. Like, hey, remember Dorrance Armstrong had 6 sacks last year too, and basically had pressure at the same rate, and that's fine. Dorrance Armstrong's ceiling is not Randy Gregory's ceiling because Randy Gregory got 5 for 70 from the Broncos. Dorrance Armstrong got like 2 for 13 from us.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So I'm sorry, but like you're super to your points, shallow surface number of 6 sacks versus 6 sacks. That's great. The rest of the league thinks that Randy Gregory's worth like 12 million or $10 million more a year than Dorrance Armstrong. So
Right. Right. So Dorrance got signed. Malik Hooker was back. That came out pretty quickly
mm-hmm,
after our last show.
mm-hmm,
2 years, $8 to $9 million.
mm-hmm.
LVE also comes back on a 1 year deal.
$3 million,
Uh,
sure. Give Micah the freedom to rush the passer whenever he wants, right? Get that linebacker rotation. LV knows the system, whatever.
yeah, he was. It just feels weird because he was the
Draft the
target.
linebacker anyway.
He was the
Whatever.
target of so many of our segments earlier in the
Yeah,
season.
no, I'm actually really happy because that segment doesn't have to go away. We can still play Where's LVE every week. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and of course, they tried to put that positive, spin and positive press on it. He's finally getting healthy. This, that, and the other. So, he had a productive back half of the season, which is, he was better in the second half of the season than he was in the beginning.
He's
That
worth $3 million. He
sure,
is. He
yeah,
is. I'm not going to complain about that deal.
yeah. But you get a stopgap at linebacker. Get another year to figure that out.
I'm still looking for that Bobby Wagner signing though.
Yeah.
Bobby.
But you also had the Cowboys were the last team. All 31 teams made a signing from an outside, player before the Cowboys did. But last week we did get Dante Fowler and James Washington signed. All right, so let's spend a little bit of time talking about those deals because Dante Fowler Jr. is a classic Cowboys free agent deal, right? Like,
And he's
let
got a
me,
guy that has somewhat of a proven track record sacking the
yeah,
quarterback, right? I think his season high
yeah,
was with the Rams. I think was his career high. He had 13 and a half sacks one season.
hmm
Outside of that, though, he's been a 4 to 6 sack guy for most of his career. He has played under Dan Quinn before, played under him in Atlanta, played under him at is it Florida or Miami, wherever he went to college. Played
yeah.
under Dan Quinn there as well. So I mean, he's got some of the. He was a top 5 pick, something like that, top 10 pick in the draft in 2015. So he's got the pedigree. He's got 1 or 2 of
That's
those seasons under his
exactly right.
belt.
Exactly right.
Haven't seen the money yet, so we'll see what that looks like. But again, it's just one of those rotational guys, and I don't hate it, right? Again, we'll see what the money comes out to be on it. I don't hate it, but I still feel like if the plan is Dexter Fowler or Dante Fowler, excuse me,
hmm
and
hmm
Dorrance Armstrong, you got to give me a little bit more than a guy with 35 career sacks and Dorrance has like 15 or something like that,
hmm
right?
hmm
Like I got to have a little bit more for whatever that plan is at right defensive end.
If yes, if that is the answer, ugh.
Yeah, and we'll get into the
if it,
draft stuff too, but I just don't know how easy it's going to be to find an edge rusher early in the
correct,
draft. I
correct,
just don't know that is going to fall your way with where the
yeah,
Cowboys are picking. But
right.
we'll talk more of that later. But edge
That
rusher
just
does worry me a little bit.
I think it has such of an impact on our team, going forward too, because of the call. If there's some lacking there, if the call is going to be for Micah to transition there,
Yeah.
and then you're into this whole conversation of, does he need to be, a split player? Does it just definitely changes the scheme, especially with someone like J-Ron Curse still hanging in the balance too,
Mm-hmm.
because people forget that a lot of that, being a chess piece with Micah, part of that was the emergence of J-Ron Curse, and his flexibility in the defensive scheme, taking, one-on-one assignments with tight ends, coming up and playing, run defense in the box. Just being able to change that look and having him on the field let you be more flexible with Micah.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of pieces in flux that allowed Micah to be what he was last year. But yeah, that's we'll talk about J-Ron's negotiation a little bit, but James Washington gets signed as a free agent. Kind of sneaky, Dez called it, shout
Dez
out
did
Dez
like a
Bryant.
week ago.
Dez Bryant
Dez was like, y'all heard it here first.
That's his, that's the OSU connect. He already knew.
Yeah. I seen somebody on Twitter was tagging Adam Schefter and was like, "Yo, make sure you give Dez his credit."
Exactly. That was reported first by Dez. So
is that the new Dez caught it? Dez reported it.
Exactly. Dez reported it, bro. But James Washington comes as a free agent on a 1-year deal. Interesting is what I think about, because we had talked before about, do we have an outside receiver to make sure that we're not asking CD to be an outside receiver? James Washington plays outside.
Right. And I think that's an interesting facet to this, right? That probably a lot of people aren't looking at, is that it's going to be different than having a guy like Cedric Wilson in that lineup without Amari Cooper, because the Cowboys didn't feel confident with Cedric Wilson anywhere but the slot.
Exactly.
Right? They didn't want him playing that outside receiver position. So yeah, maybe James Washington does give you a little bit more of that flexibility where you can work him and Gallup on the outside and let CD do what he does best, right? Work open across the middle of the field and get those yak yards. He's had, one good season in his career. Where he had, 700-800 yards, 6 touchdowns, something like that. So he's been okay. I think,
he's also had,
right, I think last year he had like 24 catches or something like that last year.
He's also had like potato bin thrown to him.
Yeah, true.
It's not.
So we'll see. I think, that's your number 3 right now, right? Because Semi Fehoko is not going to be better than him right now, if ever.
No.
But I still think that you're, again, we'll go more into the draft, but I still think that you're hopefully looking for your number 3 wide receiver to come out of the draft.
Yeah.
Whether that be a slot guy or an outside guy. But again, to your point, a classic Cowboys move, bolster the roster a little bit so it's not an absolute need, right, going into draft season.
I think that the depth, the totality of that wide receiver room is the strength. You look at all the players and you say, yeah, this is definitely the season of, is CD, a game breaker, consistent, receiver, Also, again, I'm not absolving the coaching staff of their, huge role in what we're doing. But as far as the players, the pieces they have, it looks good.
Yeah.
So far, if you give me some of those guys that have been mocked to us at wide receiver in those, second to third round, I'm pretty comfortable with a lot of those names being inserted into that wide receiver room. So I do like that signing. But the thing that I think has a lot of people just hanging on, by a thread looking at Twitter's trying to get updates is J-Ron Kearse. Where is that signing?
Where's the deal?
Why are we so far apart? What is the what's stopping it? What are you seeing out there? What are you thinking? What's the deal with this?
I'm kind of wondering, and this is, pure speculation here. Pure speculation. But I'm kind of wondering, what is Kearse's market, right? Because when you look at a lot of these lists, Bleacher Report, ESPN, a lot of these different outlets, they're putting out lists of, the top free agents left. And we keep getting more guys signed every day, right? Every day we're seeing more names go off the board. And on a lot of these lists, J-Ron Kearse is like the 20th player that they're talking about. Which, for us as Cowboys fans, watching what he did this year, everything you mentioned just a few minutes ago, J-Ron Kearse did a lot of things that nobody thought he could do, right? I think the book has been on him as like, hey, he's going to be a special teamer. You don't really want him on the field, though, right? He's probably never going to develop into that. And then he plays at a near Pro Bowl level last year. He's your green dot guy by the end of the season, where he's calling the defense. He's quarterbacking your defense. So I just wonder if J-Ron Kearse is more valuable to the Cowboys and to Dan Quinn than maybe he is to the rest of the league, which, we talk so much about this front office losing deals. maybe this is the guy that you do play a little bit of hardball with. I know nobody wants to hear that, right? Because we want to sign the guy, we want to
It's
bring
the
him back.
I think it's also some desperation from this particular free agency too,
Right,
right? The
right, right.
pressure to make a
I
deal.
just you can't have it both ways though, right? And I think
Hmm.
that as fans, we really try to do that a lot of times where we look at this and we're like, all we do is sign our own guys. And then
Uh
literally the next message is like, why haven't we brought J-Ron Curse back yet? Just pay the man,
huh.
right? We sign a guy and it's like, we paid him too much money. We could have just waited. He probably wouldn't have a market. This guy's listed as the 20th best free agent in the class. And we're like, why haven't we just paid this guy? It's like, maybe this is the guy that you do play a little bit of hardball with. And I want J-Ron Curse back as much as anybody. I think he's super valuable to this defense. Love what he did last year. But maybe we just got to wait a little bit. And I know nobody wants to do that or hear that, but I just, what are we trying to do? Like, we just going to give J-Ron Curse $7 to $10 million because he had one good season when literally for his entire career he's been a special teamer?
So maybe they're let's chew it a little bit. Maybe he's looking for, you know, 7 to 10 million a season.
That's, maybe something like that. But maybe the Cowboys want him at 5 to
And we
7.
want him, yeah, we want him in
You
the
know?
4 to 6 million
Yeah, right,
range.
right, right. And if
It's got
teams
to be
aren't
some
just
kind of
if the
cap.
phone's not just ringing, right? That J-Ron Curse, you're not seeing reports that he's going to all these other teams. He's not visiting all these other spots. Like,
Hmm.
if his market isn't that much, like, you don't just have to pay the dude $7 to $10 million because you want to keep him. So, I think we as fans got to kind of temper this just a little bit, right? Because we killed this front office. And don't get me wrong, I'm on board with most of it this free agency.
Yeah, I was about to say
It has
you
not been
usually
a
have the
good,
pitchfork.
yeah, right. It has not been a good offseason for this front office. But I don't know that J-Ron Curse is the guy that I'm going to kill his front office over because they haven't signed him yet.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go there with it yet.
I hear you. Part of I think I'll say for me, it's the pressure of the loss of Gregory is it felt I felt immediate pressure to make sure, okay, let's just not have some exodus, of our
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah.
And that felt, and Randy after Amari, even though I know we were good, it was, I'll say, manufactured, oh, we have this huge cap situation, we got to get rid of them, this, that, and the other. We didn't have to do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we wanted to do, or what the front office wanted to do. Now you're looking at it, and yes, there's pressure to get that done, but you also don't want to be hampered, like you said, down the line because you wrote some bad deal, to J-Ron because he was still there after
Mm-hmm.
Gregory left, right?
Right.
Now, do they need to bring him back? I definitely think they understand, or maybe I hope they understand how important he was to the defensive
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
success. Um, Now, if you're just far apart, if you're in that, like you said, in your 5 to 6 range, and he's asking closer to 10 million a season or something like that, just trying to make sure. Because again, I ain't hating on no players, like
Get your
it's
bag.
your,
Get your bag.
and again, this might be the one time, this might be the one time in J-Ron Kerr's career where he got some leverage to make sure that he get as much, money as possible. Sure.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel comfortable enough with this team is currently constructed to use a second or a third round pick on the safety right now? Because we're talking about interior offensive line, right?
Okay.
I need wide receiver. That's probably two of my top three picks, right? Oh, interior offensive line, wide receiver. So
Okay.
that third of the top three picks, are we okay with that being a safety? If I can get Lewis Seen at 56, and then I get a wide receiver and a offensive guard or whatever in the other 2 rounds between 1 and 3, is that okay? Or do I need that second round pick or that third round pick for another position? Do I need to go get a linebacker? Do I need to try to find an edge rusher? Even though, like I said, I don't know that it's going to match up that well for you. Because if I'm okay with going like wide receiver, safety, offensive line in the first 3 rounds, do I want J-Ron Curse back? Sure. But Lewis Seen hits like a Mack truck and runs a 4.4. So
That's interesting.
Just a thought.
That's interesting.
It can be rhetorical, but I
That's
think that that's
interesting.
kind of how we have to look at it, and probably how the Cowboys are looking at it to a point. Again, it's like, if I'm going to give this guy this money, or do I feel comfortable that one of these safeties are going to be here? And we haven't seen the Cowboys take one. That's another thing, right? We haven't seen them take a safety high in the draft. All intents and reports is that we were going to take one in the second round before Merrig and what's his name, the whatever the other safety was that went right before us went, and then we took Kelvin Joseph. But I just, because what you're looking at these other areas, right? Like I said, linebacker, edge rusher. I don't think there's really any other position. Maybe a corner if you really like a guy in the second or third round. So I don't know.
Man, I
Just thought
could see.
maybe you can take a safety in the draft
Yeah, yeah.
because you got Malik Hooker. You still have Donovan Wilson.
Are you are if we're taking a safety in the draft, are we getting Zadarius Smith or Jason Pierre-Paul, or are we getting Are we
It'd
getting
be
an
good.
edge
It'd be good
rusher
to
in
get
free
another
agency?
edge. It'd be good to get another edge in free agency, if you can.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. As the team is currently constructed, right? Because we don't know that.
Yeah, that's I no.
But I also
I
don't know that an edge rusher is going to be there for you. I don't know. Unless you're going to take a guy like Ojabo if he falls, since he ruptured his Achilles last week. If he's there at 56, are you okay with a guy was a first round talent, but is going to miss basically all of training camp, maybe be ready for the start of the season? And he's super raw. Like, David Ojabo needs a training camp. He's got all the
Mhm.
tools, but he's super raw as a player at the edge position. Are you
Mhm.
okay with a guy like that? Because if you're not, I don't know. You may be reaching for a guy, right? You may have a guy that you have a third round tag on that you're going to take in the second round if you want
Yeah,
to push that.
I like the path. Just thinking through it, I like the path more of a free agent edge and uh maybe as long as as long as you're avoiding a bad deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as long as you're avoiding a bad deal, I suppose I'd be okay with giving some money to a veteran edge guy and going and getting Daxton Hill, Lewis Seen, somewhere in there,
Lewis
and
Cine going to be a monster in the league. Watch
see
out.
it, yeah, seeing if we can
I'm
enroll
not going to
that way.
stop
But
saying it because we're going to play this back when it happens.
that, but no, that's good. That kind of moves into the second part, of what we were discussing today. Is he agree or disagree? Because we started kind of going through some of those moves and what's been done. So put your GM hat on, which is pretty much always on for you. But put your GM hat on, and are we making the same moves? Are we keeping with the trade of Amari? Are we
No, no,
are
no,
we are
no.
we still letting said go? Are we
Yes.
bringing back the guys we brought back? Do we, let's say, I mean, it appeared that we were going to re-sign Randy, you know. Um
Yeah, like, would I still have tried to get him? Sure.
yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
would have still tried to get him, right?
yeah. Would
Uh,
you have paid more?
no,
Okay.
he hasn't proven more.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
hasn't, you know. Yeah, he looked really good last year, but he hasn't proven that he's on the field for 16 games in a season, whether health
Mhm.
related or otherwise, right?
Mhm.
Um, he hasn't had a double digit sack season, you
Mhm.
know. No, I'm not, because the other option would have been like, do you just tag him and then try to work a deal out? But a tag would have been almost $20 million,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus the 14 that he's going to get on his guaranteed money, right? So no, I don't think I would have paid him more. I thought the deal was right about where I would be comfortable, in that 12 to 15 range.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe I would have looked at taking the language out, but I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm not an expert contract negotiator, so I'm going to
Yeah.
refrain from really, having an opinion on that because I don't have all the facts, when it comes to what
Mhm.
that looks like.
Mhm.
Um, Amari, absolutely, I would have kept Amari. We saw what the Browns did. They went and restructured his deal, cleared up $15 million.
It's
We
just
saved 16 million by trading him, right? So the Browns saved 1 million less than we did. So yeah, that kind of hurts. But again, that's where the Cowboys weren't. They didn't care. It wasn't about that. It's not that they were
it
too
had to,
dumb,
yeah,
right? It's
had to
not that they
be,
were inept. It's not that they
had
were
to be.
ignorant to what they could have done. They built that contract. It's their contract. They know
Yeah,
exactly what they could have done to save money. You
yeah.
know, it was never going to happen. Would I have done that? Absolutely not. Come on, Coop, let's go. Like that's my wide receiver one. I want him on the field. I want him on the team.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
said everybody out there, and I see y'all on Twitter, everybody out there like, we let Coop and said go and
And said, bro.
said got $7 million. Gallup got 12.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 7 million a year. Gallup got 12. No, he can go.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this, right? That cover two shell, the benefactors of that defense and our coaching ineptitude to really scheme it up were Cedric Wilson and Dalton Schultz. Cedric Wilson does not have that kind of season if he's seeing other looks, if we're getting them out of that cover two shell. He doesn't have it, right? And he did it one time. Cedric Wilson can go. That's fine. Miami, please pay him $20 million over the next 3 years. Have a good one. What else? Schultz, I wouldn't have done that, but we did. LVE, that's fine. Fowler
Yeah.
in Washington, fine. We said staple Cowboys moves, kind of that second, third tier free agency, shore up the
Yeah.
roster a little bit. So
Yeah,
you're not
because
forced into
even
a position of need.
Amari Cooper, yeah, if we kept Amari, I definitely would have still been looking at bringing in a wide receiver like Washington.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. So no, I don't love. I guess I would say I disagree with the majority of what the front office has done to this point. But here we are.
Um, I guess I can see the plan. If you
It's the
think the
same plan it
plan,
always is.
yeah,
The same.
you we're gonna field
The
a
cap is real in Dallas
right,
only. Um,
right.
and we have a high price quarterback, and we like B and C level free agents. Let's boogie.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's the
bring in
plan.
guys that
That's
are,
the plan.
that have a little cachet to their name, but I'm going
Mm.
to.
I do like the DeMarcus Lawrence restructure. I thought that was well done. Couldn't get him to take a pay cut, go and restructure the deal, kind of move the guarantee a little bit.
That's
Um,
probably the best
yeah, because DeMarcus
move.
Lawrence basically, when you're looking at the Randy deal versus DeMarcus deal,
Yeah.
the guaranteed piece is almost identical. I think
Right.
Randy's 2 for 28 or
Uh-huh.
2 for 27, and D-Law was 2 for 28. Was going to be the
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically the same age. I don't think people realize that because Lawrence has been in the league. He's been here, right, where Randy's been, dealing with suspension stuff like that. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
both 29 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not getting an older player for that deal. So I was extremely happy that the Cowboys were able to come to terms with D-Law and keep him around for a few more years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I don't like.
That's
Yeah,
that I don't like.
I disagree with how we've been going, about the off season. The I just where's the commitment to to winning or improving or
Yeah, where's
moving
the
up?
where's the win now, right?
And
Where's the win now?
especially with like there was always this little uh buzz of, hey, the NFC might be pretty, wide open for the taking this next year.
Mm-hmm.
Even last year it kind of felt that way. Yeah, Rodgers and Brady were still looming there, but nobody was just I don't think anybody was just saying the Packers were surefire, in there. And I mean, we saw the Bucks go out, to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
It was really that NFC West that people were looking at like, man, that that was a dogfight.
Yeah.
Probably the Super Bowl representative will come out of that division, and you sit here and you look and you say, okay, it's another year where my division opponents are probably still going to be pretty bad, right? Eagles look like they're loading up on talent. Washington is still Washington, and the Giants. unfortunately, outside of Saquon Barkley, don't really have anything going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you could put a stranglehold, on the NFC, your division, and pretty much the conference at large, as long as you assemble a really good. You already had a really good roster. Just improve on that. But instead, you kind of started tearing some pieces away from it, and now going into this next season, it's like, okay, you're still going to be competitive,
Mm-hmm.
but there are going to be teams that are like, I mean, they're just going to be better than you, and that then shifts to, well, am I gonna be X's and O's? Am I gonna elevate the
Right.
team, that way? And that was not the strength, that we found out last year. And it's something that is a big question mark going into this next season. So I don't like where it's at right now. But if it ends up in a better place, with the improvements of coaching, I mean, it's hard to see from right now. And I guess I have to have some hope, but what kind of stock do I still have left to,
Would it
just give them hope,
would it be fair to say that the Packers, the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Raiders, even the Browns and the Texans, they've all, done more for the Cowboys this offseason than the Cowboys have because they took all the good players out of the NFC? Would it be fair to say that
I
there's about a half a
mean,
dozen teams that have done more for the Cowboys than the Cowboys have done for themselves?
there's just a lot right now. It feels like we're treading water, right?
Caesar, my guy.
Hey,
Everybody say what
halftime
up to
rundown, right?
Caesar. Yep, halftime
Yeah.
rundown. Did a spot on his show, last week, the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Just got
Mm-hmm.
that thing started up. Everybody go check him out. Dude's
Yeah.
doing big things. That's the
Yeah.
homie. What up,
Yeah.
Caesar?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, man, it feels like we're treading water, and again, the bigger, the two largest moves outside of Lawrence, if you want to put that in the top two, the two largest moves of our free agency were things where you're just kind of like, okay,
That's my thing.
like you're telling me we had to get rid of Coop, we didn't, but okay. And then, oh yeah, we wanted Gregory, but his agent sabotaged the proceedings and he's gone to dinner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like if I just take you at face value and all that stuff, where's the other plan behind it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel very, a lot of trepidation going into the draft.
Trepidation.
Yeah, bro, because
Trepidation. It's a good word.
when
I like it.
those things are happening, like now I gotta wait and hope that all the personnel falls in line, that we stay healthy, and then you know I gotta see past just those first couple games of the season. Are we actually going to elevate the X's and O's, on the offensive side of the ball and really take that next step? I
Yeah.
think the defense will be there as long as there's some personnel, because we got continuity there with
Yeah.
something that was good.
Yeah.
But we need improvement on the other side of the ball, and with the personnel departures, there's a lot of question marks. I don't feel good. I don't feel good. You know. Um,
Clearly.
yeah, man. I just don't. Again, hopefully the draft is a exciting event for us, because
It's
this
always
free
an
agents.
exciting bet for me.
Well, yeah, and I mean, exciting is like we get the guys that that we quote unquote want, or the ones that it looks like we need to really replenish the roster. Let's talk about how that free agency is shaping up the draft. What are the moves that we're making now telling you about those first three picks? Because it's got to be on the money there.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were to run down to Vegas this week and place a bet on what the Cowboys are going to do at 24,
Uh-huh.
get ready for an interior offensive lineman, because I think that's just what you're seeing in free agency, right? You're seeing Dante Fowler signed, you're seeing
Mm.
James Washington signed, right?
Hmm.
So you're seeing the edge rusher, you're seeing the wide receiver. What's up? Seemed like you had a
We
revelatory moment there.
didn't even we forgot to even mention JC Treader. He got released by the Browns. He's a free agent.
Okay,
Do we want JC Treader? Do
sure.
you care?
Take all the good players. Whatever. Let me see what the money is.
It depends on what the tag
Yep.
or what the
You see what the
price
money
tag
is.
says. Yeah, I just that was an unexpected, person to be available,
Mm-hmm.
and you heard his name floated around a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I know people had talked about taking Linderbaum to replace Biotis because of that talent that he has. You think about a JC Treader, it's like, is that a win now move or someone you want to pick up? Um, I don't know that I'm all in on, we got to get that guy, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
mad if he ended up on our team.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that would be another one of those things where, again, depending on the price tag, right? Then we're not telegraphing that first round pick, and you really could pick the best player on your board. So, I mean, I'm okay with something like that, if that's
Yeah.
the plan. Um, I'm just saying, I don't know. Outside of a guy like that, I don't know where you can go in this free agency class where you're going to feel better than Connor McGovern at left guard. And I really don't think the Cowboys want Connor McGovern playing left guard next year. So get ready for Zion Johnson. Get
Zion,
ready for
Kenyon Green.
Kenyon Green. Get
Yeah.
ready for Ed Ingram. Maybe,
Yep.
if they like
Yep.
him enough up there at 24, maybe he's a
Yeah.
guy you're hoping is around at 56 if you go another direction at 24.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was placing a bet on it, I would say your top two that you're looking at right now are going to be Zion Johnson, Kenyon Green. Because even Linderbaum, right? And I guess you phrase it this way. It's kind of how I've been asking myself this question when I'm looking at, what I would do if I had all three of these guys on the board. Are you more concerned about running out Tyler Biotish every week or Connor McGovern every week?
Sorry, I was reading Caesar's comment right when you asked me that.
Linderbaum is a medium. Linderbaum's a little one. He's short. He's got short
I'll
arms. He's
take a
light in the butt.
medium center.
Yeah, because that dude is a technical monster.
But
But
you asked, sorry.
yeah, so if you were looking at this from a team construction standpoint, right?
Hmm.
Who do you
Hmm.
want on the field less? Tyler Biotish or Connor McGovern?
Oh,
Like who are you
McGovern, by
okay,
far.
right.
By far.
So if all three of those guys are on the board, Linderbaum is better than Biotish. He's going to step in day one and start.
Hmm.
But is Biotish going to be my left guard, or am I okay with McGovern being my left guard?
Right.
Or am I okay with Biotish for another year or two? And there's even some centers that may be there in the third or fourth round, right? What Luke Fortner, Cole
Hmm.
Strange could be
Hmm.
around there. That would at
Hmm.
least come in and compete with Biotish, if you
Hmm.
wanted to go that direction.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think right now you're looking 24 O linemen. One of
Yeah.
those guards would be my guess right now as the way the team is constructed. I think we talked about it and we have talked about it. Receiver is going to be second or third round, unless they do something crazy and take my guy Traylon Burks or a Chris Olave.
Right.
Um,
If
for the record,
that's
I am going to be sick when Chris Olave is a Packer at the end of this draft. I'm going to be
mm,
sick when Chris Olave is a Packer.
mm,
Just saying.
mm. Yeah, I unless one of those just premier guys so happens to fall. Even a Thibodeau, let's say he free falls to 24. I again, will it happen? Probably not. Probably not.
No chance in hell.
No chance.
No chance.
Um,
But maybe a guy like a George Karlaftis is a little bit more realistic. Defensive end out of Purdue. Because
okay.
he's a guy that you're looking at that could be anywhere top 15 to top 25.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
to say he gets to 24 is probably a stretch because I think he's probably a top 20 pick,
I don't think any
especially
of
with a
the
Jabo
edge.
getting hurt, right?
Yeah,
But if Karlaftis is there at 24, we can have that discussion because
I,
that's
I
probably
was
your
gonna
best
say
bet to get an edge
I don't
rusher.
think any of those edges are gonna fall, except
Yeah.
Ojabo because of his injury, right?
Maybe Jermaine Johnson will be there. You're starting to hear some more reports that Eli might be smarter than the media scouts, and maybe teams don't have Jermaine Johnson the second as high as some of the media scouts do.
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
could be a guy if that's your flavor, not mine, but he could be a guy that's there at 24, right? So you may have one of those guys there, a Johnson, an Ojabo, if you're okay with him missing minicamp. And basically the whole offseason.
I'm saying 85% chance that's an O lineman. because it's just unlikely for some of those other the person the type of player that would have to fall for you to pick them over the O line right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a greater than 50% chance, maybe not that high, because the Cowboys have proven the last few drafts that they're willing to take the best player on the board, right? They took CeeDee Lamb when they could have taken Kayvon Chase on when defensive end was clearly a bigger need, right? They took Micah Parsons when they could have gone other directions, but that was the best player on their board. So if a Garrett Wilson somehow falls, if they feel really good about a Jamison Williams or a Treylon Burks,
I guess I just don't think
like I
those
said, one of
guys
a
will fall.
Karlaftis maybe, if he falls, but somebody's going to be there. Like 23 players have to get picked, and there's 10 or so guys that you probably feel pretty good about at 24. So somebody's going to be there. Somebody's going to fall, right? Because you're going to have 3 or 4 edge rushers go. You're going to have 4 or 5 tackles go. You're going to have a quarterback or 2 go.
Yeah.
You're going to have the top couple corners. A safety's going to go, right? Like you're going to have 15 players outside of those wide receivers, outside of some of those back end of that top 5 edge rushing class. Like somebody's going to be there. I really do. Like I think the Cowboys are gonna have to choose.
They gotta go O-line there. They
gotta be careful when you're drafting for need. You gotta be careful, especially in the first round. Because if you have, and let's say it's Kenyon Green, right?
Okay.
Because Zion Johnson is my number 1, right? So yeah, I agree. If Zion Johnson is there, like I'm taking him over pretty much anybody that's gonna be there. Now, let's say it's a guy like Kenyon Green, who for me, I have him in kind of that 1-2, first, second round. But he's going to be a first round pick, most likely, right? If I got a guy like Kenyon Green, but then I'm choosing between him and Treylon Burks and Nakobe Dean and George Karlaftis, I don't know that it's that cut and dried because Kenyon Green might not be your best player on the board. And if that dude is your 5th best player on the board, and 2 of those other 4 guys you have a solid first round pick on, they something you hear a lot on these draft shows. So like people don't window dress your board, right? If that guy's the best player on your board, take him. So I don't know. I think you got to be careful with that. But I think that this is the whole idea with free agency is if we can't fill that hole and we're staring at Connor McGovern, when the draft starts. You feel like I have to go and get a guy. I have to take that guy at 24. And that can be a scary proposition. That's how things like Taco Charlton happen to you. It is, right? Because it's a guy that you're looking at saying, this is a 2nd round pick, but I need an edge rusher, and he's the best one I've got on my board.
Yeah, I hear you. I just
so you got to be careful pigeonholing that pick, but I also think that that's kind of what's happening right now.
It is what's happening.
Makes you a little nervous.
It is what's happening.
And again, I won't be upset if one of those guys gets drafted. But I do think that you got to look and say, was that the best player on the board? But I'll be happy if you pick one of them. In a vacuum, if you say that guy's on my team, I will be happy. However he got here, I will be happy he's here.
Yeah. I just want Zion Johnson to be there.
Then everything will be fine, right?
Just make it easy.
Yep.
Just to make it easy. But I think you're right. That maybe wide receiver, flips from 2nd to 3rd, depending on if you get J-Ron Kearse signed. Because like you said, if a Lewis Cine is there in the 2nd, maybe you grab him and then you have a couple, depending on who's come off the board. You still got a handful of guys that you like at receiver,
like Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati, 6'3" guy, runs really well. He can play outside for you. Let CD move on the inside. David Bell didn't test super well out of Purdue, but he was a guy maybe looking at in the 2nd round, so maybe he goes to that 3rd round conversation. So I think that wide receiver seems to do this every year now. Michael Gallup pick 81, and we're at pick 88 this year.
Yeah, because
get one of those guys.
James Washington and Gallup are going to occupy most of your outside snaps. You're looking for another guy to play inside the CD.
Maybe because the guy that you're going to draft, you're going to draft him for 4 years. You've got James Washington on a 1-year deal. Me personally, James
Yeah,
Washington
that's
doesn't factor in at all to what I'm doing with
yeah,
that wide receiver. It's
yeah.
much more so, where do I plan on CeeDee Lamb playing? Ideally, if I'm going to give him a contract extension, which we would probably all assume he's going to get one in the
Mhm,
next year or two,
mhm,
I need to know where I'm playing that guy to get the most out of him. So the
mhm,
Cowboys feel like that's in the slot. Do they feel like it's outside? Do they want another guy that can kind of play both so they can move people around and, actually scheme and coordinate an offense?
mhm, mhm.
So I think that those are the questions more. James Washington is just a stopgap. He's going to allow CD to play in the slot, but is that really what they want long term? And I think that that's more hopefully what they're going to be looking at out of that wide receiver position is with CD in the long term plans, what that
Yeah,
looks like with the
looking
receiver
at
on that
CD
rookie
Gallup
contract.
and
Mhm.
whoever that other
Right,
that
right,
third is.
right. What do I
Yeah,
want the trio to look like?
I wonder if I just wonder how the potential, and I mean, again, this is only things that are known in the building right now, but I wonder how any potential offensive scheme changes or thoughts
Mm-hmm.
may be affecting that because it's no secret that Dak likes the middle of the field, the in front of, his face throw, so to speak. I just wonder if, maybe you are designing an offense to take, more advantage of getting him clean looks, clean windows,
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the field. Maybe you're looking for another playmaker, over that middle of the field, thinking that maybe CD can play inside and out sometimes, even when Washington is gone. Um, but it'll be interesting. That pick will kind of, maybe that'll tell us a little something about what
One
we're
of the
planning offensively going
one of
forward.
the one of the homies the other day floated the idea of Tony Pollard getting a lot of time in the slot.
At
I just
this
wonder if
point,
the Cowboys would
listen,
do it, right? Like, would they do it?
this is yeah, and for me, it's
Because he did
like
in Memphis when he was in college. He was honestly, people didn't think he could be a running back. That's why they're looking at him, and everybody's like, he can't carry the ball like that. He
I
can't carry the load.
look
Fine, put him in the slot then. Let's
at
go.
this point,
Put him in the
I
slot. Let's
don't
go.
even care how you put him on the field.
Let's
Just
go.
put him on there.
Let's go.
Don't even have to sell it to me. If 20 is going to be on the field, I trust just fine.
Yep.
Whatever.
Here for it.
Whatever.
Here for it.
If that lets you stand Zeke back there so he can pass protect for 18 million and we still get Pollard the ball, fine. Like I'm just not going to argue about that. I don't care how he gets on the field.
Get
Just
him on
give
the
him
field.
the ball.
Get him on the
Um
field.
but yeah, that's good, man. It's like I said, it's fun to think about what's happening. We're kind of halfway through the test, so to speak, and trying to figure out, all the rest of the answers. But we'll see how the rest of free agency shakes out. Then you got to go through training camp and stuff because again, rosters can look completely different from this time up until when the season starts. And again, hopefully there's good health, not a rash of injuries, anything like that. But yeah, we'll definitely hope to get. I don't know. I think personally, on a closing note, I hope to get a little bit more edge help through free agency, and would like to see us be aggressive with that, just to shore up something and maybe not put so much pressure on
Mm-hmm.
reworking a defensive scheme that was working pretty well last year.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, let's
and
just go get Zadarius Smith. Let's go get
yeah,
Bobby Wagner, and then we can draft Zion Johnson, Lewis Seen, and George Pickens or Allen Pierce, and we'll have a good day.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I'm gonna go do some mock draft simulations now. That's the plan. That's the rest of my day.
Maybe that's
From
what we'll do on on the next show is go Pro Football Focus got
Yep,
that draft
yep,
simulator.
yep. I'm just
We
gonna
can
do
do a
some
couple
mock
of those.
drafts. Yep.
That'll be good. But yeah, man. What should we be looking out for going forward? Anything you want to shout out?
I need to get some of these rankings videos done. My apologies.
Mm,
Probably looking at interior offensive line and defensive
hmm
end next, the
hmm
edge rush position. So those are kind of the two spots that I'm looking at. We've gone through receivers, gone through tackles, but starting to feel pretty good about where I've got some of these interior offensive linemen, how things are shaking up. So I'll probably do center guard at the same time because there's not a bunch of them. And then these edge rushers, I think it's still going to be an interesting conversation, even though I don't know that it's going to match up super well for us. And everybody remember how awesome Lewis Cine is, and you heard it here first.
Lewis Cine, baby, wearing the star, second
all I
round
got.
pick.
That's all I got.
No, it's all good.
That's all I have.
Appreciate the AFAB fam tuning in. Y'all take care. Be safe. And don't cry too much because of these free agency moves. We'll get through it together.
Let that outro roll, baby. Let that outro roll, baby.